Hello there, do hope you're all well. Sorry for the lack of colour and what this, that, here. Oh, my laptop's been having a mental. But anyway, that's by the by. PMQs was a bit of a spicy, wasn't it? Understandable when clearly second jobs was going to be on the menu, wasn't it? There was no doubt. There was no way that Kier Starmer was not going to mention it, and there was no way that Ian Blackford would not have mentioned it, especially over the last 2 weeks. And well, you know how Bodge is like. When he's in the shit, he don't take responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault, or try and point to someone, point his finger at somebody else. They say, well, we're doing it, but so's he, whatnot. Well, he tried to pull a bit of a fast one, and well, let's just have a little look at what happened.
Sit down, Prime Minister. I'm not going to be challenged. You may be the Prime Minister of this country, but in this House, I'm in charge.
What I think the nation wants to know, because his register is incomplete, who paid Mish-conduct and who paid the 25,000? Who's paying him for his?
Just a minute. Prime Minister, I don't want to fall out about it. I've made it very clear. It is Prime Minister's questions. It's not for the opposition to answer your question. Whether we like it or not, those are the rules of the game that we're all into, and we play by the rules, don't we? And we respect this House, so let's respect the House.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, but we still have not heard why the Honourable Gentleman will not tell...
Order. Minister, Prime Minister, sit down. Prime Minister, I'm not going to be challenged. You may be the Prime Minister of this country, but in this House, I'm in charge, and we're going to carry on. End of that.
Now, when I was listening to PMQs on James O'Brien's show, as I normally do, and what I like about James O'Brien's show, because you'll have, after the PMQs, you've had Ian Blackford have his 2 questions, and you don't have to listen to the nonsense of the softball questions you'll get from Conservative MPs, like that clown talking about boundaries for his constituents or whatever nonsense. But what I like listening about Theo Usherwood, when it comes to stuff like this, he is impartial. He's not going to voice an opinion either way. He's just going to call it right down the middle either way. And what I had to say about PMQs all over, especially about the accusations that our Bodge was throwing at Kier Starmer, was very, very interesting.
Theo Usherwood is with me. Should we just clear up a couple of things first? James Grundy, the MP they went to first.
Straight after the exchange between Boris Johnson and Kier Starmer.
That exchange is talking largely about sleaze and attendant issues. Why does his name ring a bell? Why am I thinking of Ben Kentish at this point in proceedings? You're our esteemed colleague.
That's because Ben Kentish did a story a couple of years ago where there was a video of James Grundy exposing himself.
Doing what?
Exposing himself.
Exposing himself?
Exposing himself.
In a pub?
Yeah.
Oh, crikey, they know how to pick them. And are you familiar with Summer Heights High, the
no.
Australian comedy programme? Anybody familiar with Summer? Keith, are you familiar with Summer? Yes, Charlotte, our youngest colleague today is familiar with Summer Heights High. Do you know why I'm referencing Summer Heights High at this point in proceedings? Anybody? It features a famously truculent schoolboy who is accused of swearing at a teacher, and his response is, I said puck you, miss, puck with a P. And this is taking the mickey out of the patheticness of teenage boys. Just run us through that mish-conduct line of Boris Johnson's, will you?
We'll start at the end, yes. So the Prime Minister is not allowed to ask questions of the Leader of the Opposition. The clue's in the name, it's Prime Minister's questions. So what Boris Johnson tried to do was to talk about misconduct of Kier Starmer, to put a question to Kier Starmer disguised in the answer that he was actually giving Kier Starmer about the £25,000.
To be clear, there is absolutely no misconduct with an S rather than a silly deliberate mispronunciation, or not even an accusation of it at all.
So what this actually came out when Kier Starmer was here on Monday. Mish-conduct paid Kier Starmer £25,000. There's also an amount of money, around £42,000, where Kier Starmer has provided legal advice before he became leader of the Labour Party, because of course he is former director of public prosecution, so his legal advice, we would presume, is quite well respected. And as part of that, he would have signed confidentiality agreements with the people he was providing advice to, which means that he can't publish who provided that advice.
Which Johnson will know.
And he will know. And of course, Kier Starmer...
And was pretending not to know.
And of course, Kier Starmer sought advice from the clerks before he took that work on, and the clerks of the House of Commons said that it was okay for him to take that work, even though he wouldn't be able to publish exactly who had asked
So
for
he
the
did
advice.
everything by the book.
And he checked that he did everything by the book.
Unlike when Boris Johnson got his flat redecorated and then had to subsequently repay the money.
There are two investigations at the moment. One's about to be published.
Speaking of investigations, why is Priti Patel, why is her name in the High Court this morning?
Sorry, sometimes I've just had to fess up.
That's absolutely fine. The trade union, the FDA, is launching judicial review proceedings, which have now come to court, challenged in the High Court this morning over Boris Johnson's decision to disregard the findings of his advisor on ministerial standards that adjudged her to be a bully. So that's being heard in court today as well. It's hard. I mean, as you say, Theo, it's hard to know where to start. Do you want to just take us back to the beginning of PMQ?
If we go back to the beginning, of course, Kier Starmer goes in on the plans for Northern Rail. There was due to be, and this is what Boris Johnson promised, a high-speed line between Manchester and Leeds as part of the Northern Rail project. We understand that's now been downgraded so that there will be a high-speed line between Manchester and Huddersfield. And then,
although he did say wait and see. So
no, he's previously promised.
That's already happened.
He's previously promised.
Why did he keep saying wait and see?
Because he doesn't want to have to confirm that it's not going to happen.
Oh, I see.
So Boris Johnson previously talked about the Northern Rail project to upgrade interconnectivity between cities in the north of England. As part of that, there was going to be a high-speed rail line between Leeds and Manchester. It's now not going to be, from what we understand, a high-speed rail line. There's going to be a part of it from Manchester to Huddersfield, which should be high-speed, and then it will revert to existing track. Separately to that, the eastern leg of high-speed rail 2, again, which the Prime Minister promised he would deliver back in February 2020, that was due to be...
Big deal, this. We've dropped the ball a bit on this show, because almost every front page of the regional press in the north was going in. They almost acted in concert. I think they did actually act in concert, even though they come from different stables. They've all gone in very, very big on this perceived betrayal.
So that was meant to be from Birmingham to Leeds, high-speed rail link that would be open 2035, 2040. It would be 115 miles of high-speed track. Now that is only going to be around 42 miles of high-speed track from Birmingham to a new station called East Midlands Parkway between Derby and Nottingham. It then reverts to normal upgraded track for the remaining 60, 70 odd miles, slowing journey times but saving money, of course. And of course, Northern MPs are very unhappy about it. And you pointed out when Prime Minister's questions were taking place, that actually there were many gaps on the Conservative benches from behind Boris Johnson. They'll be unhappy.
I did point this out, and also that they weren't very exuberant.
They weren't very exuberant, but they're very unhappy with the way...
They were rubbish jokes, though, weren't they? And that line from Starmer's hard to pick a winner, but this joke isn't funny anymore, is up there. The
Randolph's thing, there was also
listen, you need to stick around, I think, don't you?
Just one line on the Randolph's thing, very quickly, and then you've got Martin Lewis coming up after the break.
But I'll talk to Martin, then but then you've got to come back and do your Steve Bannon story as well.
Just the Randolph's thing, the Prime Minister agreed to publish, we appeared to agree to publish details of the Randolph's.
He seemed to do it by accident.
But what's interesting is Owen Paterson, of course, was paid by Randolph's, but the commissioner which investigated Owen Paterson when it came to Randolph's never found any establishment that Randolph's won millions of pounds worth of government contracts because of their links to Owen Paterson. That was never found to be the case. What Kier Starmer is trying to press is whether actually as a result of Owen Paterson, Randolph's won those contracts, and the Prime Minister appears to have agreed to publish the papers.
He's already thrown him under one bus. I suppose he could quite conceivably
an HGV.
Throw him under a even
proverbial
bigger bus,
HGV.
a Pantechnicon, even. Do you want to play a game?
Go on.
Which LBC presenter tweeted 10 minutes ago, "I have no hesitation in saying that Boris Johnson's performance in the House today at PMQs was a disgrace."
You did.
Wasn't me.
I don't know.
I'll give you a clue. he once read out one of my tweets to Dominic Raab and then inexplicably allowed Dominic Raab to lie through his teeth about me. I'll reveal who it was after the headlines with Amelia.
What a shocker. He just tried to pull a fast one. Knows full well that everything was above board. And he's got no case to answer to, but as Churchill once said, a lie is halfway around the world before truth has got its pants on. And no doubt that'll be in the right-wing rags and all that. And everything else, he prattled on about. And I did find it interesting that Ian Blackford, spot on, the lack of people behind him and the lack of giggling and laughing at his jokes in this was quite interesting. Clearly, there are people in that party who are definitely on manoeuvres now. The empty seats was visible. And judging by the way he was doing his PMQs, I think he must have noticed himself, because even when he was answering questions, he did seem quite low-key and disconsolate, I suppose, in a way. It's as if he could see the writings on the wall. But very interesting, eh? Wasn't it? Right, I shall leave the video here. Until the next time, I shall bid you farewell. Take care.